Call the meeting to order. It is 4:06. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Community Development Advisory Committee meeting, February 26th. Before we get started, a little read this. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast via our local cable access channel, WCAT, Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. If anyone in the audience is recording, please let us know. Okay, we're good. We're going to jump ahead a little bit real quick because some Jim here is going to have to leave us pretty quickly. So we're going to have.
Progress.
Oh, sorry. We're a little late on that.
I'm recording.
You're recording now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so we're going to do a quick update on the Community One Stop for Growth and Green Communities Grant. Well, we have Mr. Ferrara here. Would you please step on up?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jim Ferrara, Town Administrator. I just wanted to give the board a brief update as to where we are, as Jeremy had indicated, on the green communities and on the One Stop for Growth grants. So green communities, we have two projects that are going to be starting very soon. One, the weatherization project here at the Shepherd Building, which is scheduled to start next Wednesday. We're anticipating them to start. We've notified all the offices in town this week that there will be some contractors in the building starting the weatherization project, and they will need access to all offices here in the building. From there, they are going to, once they finish up here at the Shepherd Building, they are going to make their way down to the Senior Center. They will be working down at the Senior Center doing the weatherization as well. Also, as part of the grant, they are going to be installing a new HVAC unit, heat pumps down there. The heat pumps have been on ordered. We are anticipating getting those in hopefully by the end of March sometime. So that side of the project is a little bit delayed, and we're anticipating that installation to happen sometime in March. We are working with John and CMRPC with coordinating a CDBG project in between there, the bulkhead, the rear door, as well as some improvements to the loading dock floor area. We're working in conjunction with him on that. There was a requirement for CDBG to do some radon testing that John had contracted with an individual to do. We're working through through that analysis now, and hopefully we'll be pursuing and moving forward very soon with the CDBG stuff on that side of the project. Also, the One Stop for Growth. As you know, we've been working with CMRPC and Sarah for the community planning grant. On the other side, we have Pulaski Street, which is going to be going out for engineering services. We were awarded a planning grant over there for engineering services. With looking at the specifications and looking at all of the inner workings of that particular grant, it's very clear to me that Weston and Sampson does have an intimate knowledge of that particular area. They're working on our Wrights Mill Master Recovery Plan right now, in sharing some of that information. For Pulaski Street, as you know, you may be aware, engineering services don't technically have to go out to a formal procurement process. I think it would be wise for the town to continue with Weston and Sampson for that particular project, and hopefully we can get that rolling fairly quickly for a contract and moving forward on that. Now, One Stop for Growth, expressions of interest are due, in the next coming up weeks. So we're looking for projects that maybe the board would want us to pursue as an application as part of expressions for interest. I don't know if there's a phase 2 to the master plan that potentially could be funded through the One Stop, or if there's other phases or something that we're looking to do. But we're all ears. I'd love to submit an application on behalf of the town. If the board has a suggestion or recommendation, or, you know, they want to move forward on another planning project or something, or something to get ready for one of our projects, please let me know. I'm willing to work with you in any way I can to get an application moved forward.
All right, actually, I think, yeah, we definitely are gonna have to come up with something for sure.
Okay.
I just don't wanna stop the ball rolling, that's for
No,
sure.
yeah. We got a lot of projects going on.
A lot going on.
Lot of grants going on in combination with CDBG, and, you know, I know it was, you know, briefly mentioned, you know, there's some concern about federal funds, and we're obviously keeping an eye on that. You know, we saw that there's some other communities as of recent, that, you know, some of their federal dollars, not related to CDBG, but other grants that they've gotten have been put on hold. So we're watching that, so, you know, and that could be a a significant impact moving forward, so.
Definitely. Chris?
Do we know, is there any changes from previous years and, from this year's application? Is
For
it the
One
same?
Stop?
For One Stop, yeah.
Yeah, it's virtually the same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any
Any
questions?
questions, guys? Anybody?
No.
No? Sounds good?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Yep,
Jim.
yep.
Appreciate that. All right, well, let's bounce back to the top to our master plan segment, and we'll bring in our special guest, Sarah, for another monthly adventure.
If special guest Chris wants to go first, if we're already
No,
talking
I'm
about
just here.
CDBG. Okay.
He's just here as a special guest.
Yeah.
All right.
I let
Did he
myself-
unlock the building
I
today?
let myself
Oh,
in.
I was gonna do the jokes.
Ah, the key joke.
Good thing I'm the one with the mic, right?
He can lock up.
We'll go on. This month, we plan to talk about housing and economic development draft chapters. So I don't have much to present unless it'd be helpful for the committee to run over the chapters, but I'm here to hear your thoughts and comments, and if there's anything we want to discuss about changing.
Well, I read through a lot of it again, and again, I don't think anything new came to my attention. I don't know if anyone else
No.
thinks that. Like I said, I think we covered them very well. So unless, like I said, unless there was something you wanted to share on it, that I think they looked very good. So,
They are the longest ones.
oh yeah.
By far, I'll tell you that. Because those are like the two core chapters, so the other ones will be much shorter. Question from the audience.
Still don't have a housing production plan, right, Warren?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That's correct. So, I mean, unless you are aware of a source of funds that might be able to do that,
Yeah.
that'd be a,
Mhm.
Yeah, One Stop funds them. That's the last action item on the housing chapter
sorry.
is, to continue to update the housing production plan, I think
and I
it's
still don't
recommended every
know,
5
I'm
years.
familiar with them, Sarah, a little
Mhm.
bit, but what might be some of the benefits of a town actually doing a housing production plan?
Well, the regulatory side is safe harbor, so that would mean, let me think of the actual term, I think having a housing production plan that was updated in the last 5 years, plus increasing affordable housing stock by, I think it's something like 1%, for a number of years, keeps the town in a safe harbor condition against Chapter 40B proposals to the planning board. So that's typically why towns like to keep them updated. The plan goes a lot more in depth than the housing chapter, if you can believe it, to more specific areas of town to address housing production concerns. And there's a little bit more emphasis on what we'd call like capital A affordable housing.
Mhm.
So structured, subsidized income.
If I might say that in a different way, so if they do a housing production plan, it provides a little bit more protection for the town against unwanted housing development? Is that what I'm hearing when you talk about 40B or?
Well, unwanted would be subjective, but
Yes,
it would
let me
be
reel that phrase in.
developers that have
They
the,
have more control over the
Correct.
development that might
Yeah.
come to town.
so Chapter 40B would be a developer can come in and basically override a lot of zoning by saying they're doing affordable housing. So a friendly 40B would be a developer that says, hey, I'm going through Chapter 40B, but I want to work with the planning board on the application. So not having a housing production plan and showing the state that you are still committed to having affordable housing in town allows those developers to come in and override some local regulations.
That doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, we don't want
I
that.
think we need a plan.
We need a plan, absolutely.
I think there's less development pressure in Warren for those kinds of developments. They're usually bigger.
Yeah, I mean, there's not, obviously, I don't think there's anything right now, but the future, you don't know.
You don't know.
We need to prepare for the future. And
We were commenting, there's plenty of open space out there.
yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of open space, so. It's, yeah, somebody come in with that sees that the town can't really protect itself and can use that law to their advantage to basically push through us and build what they want. And that's, yeah, that's something we definitely don't
No,
want to see
it would
happen.
kill our infrastructure.
So, yeah,
No, no,
so,
no.
yeah, so if we could, figure out what we need to do to get that plan rolling. I said if there's there's a grant application through, Community One Stop on that. We'd love
Yeah.
to look into that, for
For sure.
sure.
Is there like an outline that other communities have on this maybe, or they can be drafted?
To create the plan? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shameless plug,
A similar-
CMRPC writes
A
them.
similar plan.
Yeah.
They're a little more structured than the master plan. They do have to go through the state to get accepted. So there's a little more guidance on what should be included in the plan.
Okay.
Yeah. But typically, towns would pay a consultant to come in and, similar to the master plan, but more focused on housing, like the workshop, the survey components, and,
Okay. So that it's pretty detailed.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, well, if you could,
And did you get my comments? I've submitted comments about the housing chapter. Have you
Yeah.
got a chance to look at them, or?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
so you talked about the single family to.
For Victorians, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
And, so it's a long lengthy thing, but I just,
Well,
To
Rich,
sum it,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
can you give us
To
a
yourself?
summary?
Come on.
We'd love to hear this.
Yeah.
well, I just think, so, at the beginning of the housing chapter, it says converting large Victorian style houses, large Victorian style, single-family houses to two-family units, which I personally think is a terrible idea.
Yeah,
I'll
Um,
second that.
Yeah, I
I will
would, yeah.
second that 1,000%.
definitely.
So first of all, once you do that, it's hard to go back.
Yep.
So it makes the house potentially unattractive. I think, I know when I came to town 20-plus years ago and was thinking about moving here, the Victorians were like one of the attractions.
Yeah,
So I think it makes the house, the town, it adds to the character of the town. Some of these houses are very unique to our town, so it adds a lot of the character again. I think it helps the curb appeal, and I'm really hesitant to have a lot of rentals. I would rather have people come in and buy homes, so one of my points was, it takes a lot to maintain one of those homes, so the person moving, the family moving in needs the resources to take care of that home, and that's a good person to have here.
yeah,
If you divide it up into pieces, you're gonna get renters, and renters don't necessarily participate in the community. And I can attest to that, because I think in a 10-year span, I probably moved 5 times as a renter. So did I participate at all in any of those communities? No. So, but now that I'm here, I'm vested, I put money into a house, I'm interested in staying and, contributing to the community. So I would like to see more home ownership.
Rich?
Yeah.
Would you say those comments and sentiments are restricted to Victorians or homes of historic significance? Or
Yeah, some historic significance, yeah, sure, yeah.
And I have owned Victorians that have been converted from single-family to 3, 4-family units. And once you do that, it basically tears that whole house apart on the inside, and it's like a hodgepodge of this, that, and the other thing. Each apartment is unique in its inside design, So when you place your utilities and everything else inside these structured units, it's hard to do that because of all the little nooks and crannies that are inherent to a Victorian building.
Whether it's a staircase or a hard.
Right, the winding
whatever it might be.
staircase going up, you know, the nooks and crannies, the old style closets and stuff like that. They're not compatible to use with new modern stuff. So it makes it difficult to rehab that unit.
So my house was a single family, then went to a two-family, then went back to a single
Yep.
family. So I have now 2 furnaces. I have a kitchen on the second floor. It's sort of nice to have the sink there, but it's like this weird room that we have.
Right, and the
still
other thing you
figuring out
gotta
what
look
to
at
do
too,
with.
in most of these old houses, you're still gonna find old asbestos water jacket furnaces with lead lines,
Mhm.
okay, throughout the building that are still in service. And as long as you don't disturb the asbestos, it's not gonna bother you.
Yeah, yeah.
But once you start tearing the place apart, now you have to look at what kind, you have to have an abatement team come in,
Yeah,
seal that, envelope that house, take everything out, and that's an added cost to the whole situation.
Yeah.
So, and once you get into that mode, it's cradle to grave. You're the owner of it, you own it, and if something happens at the landfill, you own that cleanup too.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I'm trying to think, I had a 5th point on here, but, let me see.
Well, I don't know, I mean, not to say that I disagree with anything you're saying. I absolutely agree, I don't want our historical houses converted into multifamily if possible. But in the modern day, you also have to look at how many families are staying under the same roof. Children can't go out and buy their own houses, the market doesn't allow it. I mean, at the same time, it would be kind of unique to allow one family to move into a multifamily house and still exist under the same roof, but have your own space, your own units within that house. So, I mean, that's a very unique situation, but I think it's actually coming into play a lot more. And, I mean, I know people that are renting currently who are literally to the point now where they can't even afford their rental unit, and they're actually moving back in with their family. And these are, you know, young people, I'm saying they're in their late 20s, and they're actually moving back home because the market is so expensive. And with electricity, you know, utility costs and food costs and everything on the rise, they have to find a place to be in the world. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's back at home where you grew up, because at least that household is sustainable and paid for, or at least being supported at that time. So, I mean, it's just, I can definitely don't want to see us lose those opportunities to maintain these big, beautiful houses. But, like I said, we have to adjust with times, and that's definitely a different perspective. Now, I don't support what I just said, but I want to make that clear that
but on the
that
other
it's
side
something
of
we need
that,
to consider.
on the other side of that,
Yeah.
a lot of these Victorian homes, if you go look up in the northeastern area of the United States, you know, New Hampshire, Maine, that area, a lot of these older style Victorians or historical facilities are becoming bed and breakfasts.
Yes, seen that as well.
Maybe there's sensible guidance or something, you know.
Yeah.
That could be developed.
So, and one thing, like, I have a carriage house. It's the same 30 by 40 footprint as the house. So maybe there could be zoning that would allow me to add, like you said, my son doesn't leave home and wants to stay, so I convert that to a house.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's an AD accessory dwelling unit, but
The
maybe.
definition is changing.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it's the concept, right?
Yeah.
Right, where I could, because then I'm, as opposed to modifying the main house and kind of like really ripping it apart, now I'm taking a carriage house that essentially is a big open building and putting structure to it, that I think adds value and, you know, can be used in the future.
And can you imagine that home over your right shoulder there, Jeremy, separated into like 6 units?
oh, no, yeah. That's, yeah, I mean,
Oh, the rear?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful house, you imagine, yeah, again,
Yeah.
imagine 6 different families living in that, or 5
Well,
different, yeah.
That had been a retirement home or
Yeah.
nursing home or something, so I can
I
imagine.
imagine it is, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think before the current owners bought it.
Oh, interesting.
So it could be quite interesting inside
Mhm.
with, from that. And they also have a barn too, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
right?
I think so.
I mean, that's a
Yeah,
big
so
house,
down
but you
there.
could add even more, you
Back
know,
of-
have like an
Yeah.
in-law.
street is
or
Oh, yeah.
Kid's apartment or whatever you wanna call it.
That's it, yeah.
How's the economic development piece
Was that?
shaking out? I mean, I know there were discussions many times.
That chapter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one that we have a draft of, if you wanna take a look at it too.
And just my other comment on housing too is I'm still skeptical about Warren population getting.
The increase?
Yeah, much more than 5,000.
Yeah.
So just, I don't know.
You
think
Something
it
to
is?
think about.
It
What?
is? It is?
No,
No,
It's not.
it's been like this around 5,000 for decades and
yeah,
decades.
years and years.
And in the last master plan predicted by now, we'd have 8,000 people in town. So it was really off.
Oh, the one in 2000 or whenever it was?
2005 or something like that, yeah,
Yeah.
2006.
Wow.
So,
In 20 years, our population has stayed exactly the same.
so you had mentioned that there's pressure in the east to move west because of prices. But here we have a trend where like every year there's less kids in school. So why is that? Are people moving out? Are they having less kids? Like,
Well, everybody's
we're
having less kids,
seeing
yeah.
almost a downward trend, so I don't
Mhm.
know that, you know, I think you have like maybe 6,700 on the low end.
For the projections?
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm still kind of skeptical about that, so I don't know, something to think about, chew on a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, development would have to change in the town in order to draw
Yeah, what's our
those people
attraction?
in. Why are people all of a sudden gonna build, 100 new homes and, maybe, again, you would have to have something like, an apartment complex come to the mill development, or something of that nature, to all of a sudden kickstart and boost the population growth, and
Do we
maybe
know how many new
then.
permits were issued over the last year?
Well, the population projections are based a lot on the life expectancy increasing, and that's projected to continue increasing. So especially when you have an older population, we're getting really good at healthcare, and that's where that increase would be coming from. So yes, with school enrollment, of course, development plays a little bit of a role, but that wouldn't be as affected if population projections are a little bit accurate.
Yeah.
I
And
think-
so, say the town increased by 1,500 people, how many families is that, I guess? Is that like just divide by 3-ish? So like 500 families, is that a rough estimate?
I mean, with population projections, it is an art instead of a science. The way CMRPC does it is based on the transportation method of doing it. So our transportation department does our population projections, so that's through the DOT's methodology of studying the birth and death rates more than demographic changes. So they don't go as in-depth on which life cycles are gonna have population increases. But the increases that we're seeing in our region are because of the aging population and expected, or in migration from eastern Mass.
Okay. But just to throw it, you know, if 1,500 people came in, that
Mhm.
would be like 500 families, which would be 500 new residential units, assuming we didn't lose anybody, right? Even 200 new houses, like where would those go if we had to, you know?
You would have to start building some new roads.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of areas on the current roads that are available for building.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're talking 200-300 houses. That's,
Yeah, it's like.
it would pack them in a lot of places, and we don't, obviously zoning doesn't allow you to be on top of each other.
Right, yeah. there's-
So with the size, they're building lots, it being with 45,000 square feet, so that's, again, you're over, a little over an acre. So, I mean, again, you would have to see all the roads that have virtually no houses on it now, just explode in population. Or a developer wants to come in, you know, hey, I'm gonna do a subdivision, a road in off of this, up to this ridge, and we're gonna have 50 houses up here, and then another road's gonna come off over here, and, I mean, you can go to towns not too far from here, and they've had massive housing developments, where there are hundreds of new homes built within 5-10 years.
That's interesting.
It could happen, but you would have to have, you know, a large developer who's looking for a town to set up shop. And, you know, it does happen. And eventually, yeah, these communities around us start running out of space and they venture this way. Are through these plans, you know, are our doors open for that type of development?
Yeah.
Or are we reluctant to stuff like that? And our master plan will project that to developers coming in. Like,
Right.
oh, Warren, yeah, there's a lot of land, a lot of opportunity here, but the doors aren't open for projects like this in that community.
Yeah.
So they'll tend to stay away, whereas other communities will be like, come on in. You know, we'll open up the roads for you. You build them, you know, we'll fill them up.
Wow.
But again, it's a different type of community. I mean, like I said, I know I've been up through like areas like Rutland up that way. They massive housing communities, just built in these huge farms, become literally hundreds of big, beautiful houses. So, I mean, it very easily could happen. Off of Southbridge Road alone, there's hundreds and hundreds of acres that are ripe for development for just like those type of communities.
Yeah,
So right now, it's forestry, yeah. You know, it's, right now, it's all forestry there, it's all logging tracks and whatnot. It's, those very easily could be passed over and, you know, you best sell off those rights and they pay off whatever, you know, depending on how it's zoned, to change things and get things in the right tax code to be able to build these huge developments. So, I mean, like I said, whether it's condominiums or, you know, our mobile home parks. You know, there's over 100 mobile units in the one on top of Bemis Road. I mean, there's 100 houses in one small space. So that's, the rest of that road has like 52 houses on it. And there's over 100 in one area.
Yeah.
So that's why now Bemis Road is probably one of the most highly populated roads we have in town, by far.
Yeah.
Just because of that community. Somebody puts in on the other side of the hill, hey, let's bump in here and do these big condo units, maybe a 50-plus retirement community. I mean, again, that's what is projected to move our way. I think moving out of Boston and the greater Boston area out into the rural community. I mean, a very common discussion here is, we're in the middle of everything, but we're in nowhere. You know, you come here and you're this quaint, cute little town, there not a lot is happening, and it's very similar to how it's been over the last 50 to 100 years, but it's also very centrally located. We're so close to everybody. So, and all it's gonna take is a spark, and that's like a forest fire. It spreads fast. You start putting boom, 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 boom. So right now, I mean, I think we have maybe 3 or 4 houses being built in town currently right now.
Okay.
You know, and then I know I've already talked to one contractor who has basically his next 4 builds lined up. And there's 2 other contractors. He's gonna be working on another one, and he'll be working on another one. So, I mean, so there's 6 houses being projected to be built at least in the next year. But that's only 6.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna take a lot of years for 6 to turn into 200 or 300.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know, the possibilities, and that's the thing, is do we wanna be an open community to that? Or do we like things the way they
But
are?
once you get into that stage,
Yeah.
okay, Now, and this happened in the town where I came from. They opened up all tracts of land to whoever wanted to come in and build, and they built these houses. But these houses are now 800, 900, $1 million.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Okay, so what are you gonna attract? People who have that type of money, if they wanna move out here.
Yeah, correct. So, I mean, I even look at the prices of some of the smaller houses being built right now. They're still $400,000. For something 5 years ago, you'd pay 180, 200,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you take a $180,000 to $200,000 house that was in, 2018, 2019, is $450,000 now.
Yeah.
And at a 6.7% interest rate is like, I can't imagine that mortgage payment.
Yeah.
But people are still doing that. And it's slow, but it's still happening. Like I said, I know one of the contractors, he has his next 4 houses already sold.
Already sold?
Already sold.
Wow.
So he's building them for somebody already.
Huh.
So, that tells you that people coming in, yeah, there might be a $500,000-$600,000 house, but that same house in a community 20 miles from here is $800,000-$900,000, $1 million.
Yeah.
So that, to them, a $600,000 house is,
No.
that's cheap, that's great.
Yeah.
I can sell my house, pay for this house, and still have money to go do 5 other things.
Yeah.
You know,
And
build other houses somewhere else.
Yeah, live on a quiet street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Housing.
so again, it could happen, but it's projects like this is that lays the groundwork to what direction do we go in. So, and again, we'll see. Anybody?
Single family.
No, yeah, I know you like single
Yeah,
family, and I'm, again,
Yeah, that's what I like.
no, and I don't disagree. I do like,
More tax revenue.
I like the feel of what our community is, but again, you can't stop the future. Things happen. You just want to be prepared for it by having a housing plan, having,
Yeah,
having our ducks in a row so that if somebody does come to town, they're not gonna push us around and just say, hey, this is what we're building and you gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
all right, well, anything else we want to discuss in this chapter? Well, the review.
So I can take out the part about single family or double. What I'll do is make a copy of the version that's in there and just highlight anything that's changed between versions, so you don't have to read the whole thing again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that would be
And just put
great.
that back into the
That'd be
folder.
great.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Great. All right, anything else?
Anything on economic development?
Oh, yeah, we didn't address that. Anything? Do you have anything on that one? Come on, you had so much good
I know,
things
I-
for the last
I
one.
blew it all on that.
Yeah, I know, you gave it all on housing, the economic development.
I was
So-
exhausted.
Yes,
You know.
tired out, you put a lot into it. We appreciate that. So, no, I don't, I mean, I had nothing to change in the economic development, but, like
Cool.
I said, I don't think if anyone else did, no. Okay,
Surprising.
yeah,
Awesome.
all right,
I have a fun note.
okay.
We like to put a lot of pictures in the plan to encourage people to continue to read it.
Mhm.
So if there's anybody that wants to submit photos to be added, if there's local photographers, we could source the name under the pictures, pictures with people, pictures with scenery, pictures that make Warren look beautiful, and it kind of brings a little bit more life and character to the plan. So my email is open for those. Saw a lot of white places
Should
in the
contact
draft.
Jim
And that's
Hennessy
for
or
fun
whoever,
pictures.
the one,
Yeah,
the one
he
he
does a lot
takes
of,
a lot of
work.
photos.
Who? Derek?
Jim
Jim
Hennessy or whatever.
Hennessy.
He has a lot of.
Is that the guy who walked to some
Yeah,
Coffee?
no.
Chair, we had a transportation guy here a year or so ago.
No.
and they
I take a lot of
drone
pictures.
shots.
Yeah, we have our
He has
drone
some
shots.
pictures.
Oh, you did
What was
more?
that?
Yeah,
He has some pictures.
and
He
we
does.
use the ones from that one
Oh,
too.
you found them, okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, Jim Hennessy, if you go to Warren Neighborhood Watch on Facebook,
Does,
find a lot of those.
yeah, lots and lots of really nice pictures.
Yes, he does.
Cool.
I'll ask permission first, but thank
Yeah.
you. Awesome.
I think you'd be thrilled. And Derek always has pictures too. for
Oh,
Lisa.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll have good, if you want like a high school sporting picture or
Mhm.
graduation, he's always at those events,
Yeah.
or town functions,
Yeah, all the
tree lighting.
community events.
And,
he's
Yeah.
a
What
lot of
aerial
Like the Lucy
shots
Stone thing.
from drones
Yep,
and
Lucy
stuff?
Stone stuff,
Yeah,
all that, he'll be there, parades, Halloween,
yeah, we have a lot of pictures in town,
yeah.
good stuff.
Cool. So next month will be town services and transportation.
Mhm.
Transportation's already in the folder, town services will be there tomorrow.
So
So
this
you're in
is,
this phase one, or is that sort of phase two, or where does that land?
That's in town services and facilities
Oh, okay.
mostly, and then the roads are in transportation.
Just want to make sure that you work with her to get in those things that the committee has been talking about, like in the community development strategy stuff and.
all right, because just the obvious question, what is in here is what is up for review, right? There's no other folders, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Because we've talked about like so much stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, that's why I was clicking, reading through, going, is this what we're doing this week? I'm like, there's
Yeah.
endless things that we've discussed, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Cool.
Okay. All right, let's, move it along. All right, we'll jump down to, MVP. There's no new updates. There was a couple of potential meetings we could have had, but unfortunately for me, snowstorms kind of got in the way of it. So, yeah, I wonder why. But there's still tons of opportunities at MVP. Same thing with Complete Streets, no new updates, submitted our thing to the portal. So just waiting to hear back from the state on that review on our Complete Streets policy. We addressed green communities. I guess now we're on to the Community Development Block Grant. John, take us away.
All right, sounds good. Do a pretty quick update, at least the most part here. I'll just start quickly with FY '21. Jim actually helped in providing an update already, but that's really just the senior center improvement project. So we finished the procurement for a contractor, and then we came to find out that a radon test was required. So we did conduct the radon test. Small area in the basement of the storage area, showed levels exceeding the acceptable limit of the threshold, which is, I don't remember the exact measure of unit.
4.7 was
It
it?
was like just like 4.1, but
Oh.
yeah, whatever the measurement of theirs. So what the state has allowed us to do is make a case for the fact that that area isn't really occupied by anyone. It's not being used by anyone. It's simply just a storage area that very infrequently gets accessed. So if that is allowable, will allow us to move forward with the senior center improvement project. I think we could have a discussion about if the town wants to mitigate that, area of the building, potentially through some maybe miscellaneous funds. I do have a rough estimate of a cost of a mitigation system would be about $1,800. So that would take the gas and vent it out to the side. That's a rough estimate. It's just something to consider. I'm hoping it isn't required, and then us slow down the process for the senior center project even more. So I think we can do both those simultaneously. But I'll make sure to provide you an update as soon as I receive confirmation from the state on that.
So the radon's limited to that little area?
Right, everywhere else in the building is well below the threshold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we could
That's
just,
good.
which
And it's a dirt floor too.
Right,
is
right.
part of the problem.
Right.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
So, yeah, I'll make sure to keep you updated on that, but
So if we leave it, then we should just test every 5 years, maybe?
yeah, I think it
Right?
was every
Is that
couple
the
years, that's,
requirement?
yeah,
Yeah, I
right.
don't know, I'm just guessing,
Oh,
but just to keep on top of it.
Yeah,
Right.
In
definitely.
case it migrates. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, that's the update on FY '21. FY '22, '23, School Street Phase 2, so the contractor's gonna return this spring, next couple of months, just to do some minor, touch work around the grass seeding. There's a area where there's some flowers that have to be planted, minor stuff like that, before we can completely close that project out. But as far as all the construction work, that's all done. Moving on to the Town Common Improvement Project, so the architect's advancing that study. They completed completed most of the surveying of that site. There is a meeting next Wednesday at 3:30 where the project committee as well with the architect will be walking the site, looking at different features, proposing ideas and getting feedback. So the public's welcome as well, but that will be 3:30 on the 5th. Then moving down to FY '24, the Central and River Street Improvement Project. So we completed the RFQ process. Right now I'm doing the reference checks for the consultant who we'd like to move forward with awarding the contract to. So pending the results of that reference check, I'll be formally writing a letter of recommendation based on that for the town to move forward with awarding the contract. So that's in process. Then there's the Cutter Park Improvement Project. So I plan to get that out, the RFQ released probably sometime late March, early April. But I did have a question. I know we have a project committee for the Town Common Improvement Project. Do we have one for Cutter Park, or can they also serve as the project committee for this project as well? Or do we not want to have a project committee and kind of have it an ad hoc, more informal committee? I wasn't sure exactly.
Well, I mean, I know Parks Department definitely needs to be.
More geared towards the actual Parks Department
Parks
being on it, I
Department,
would
yeah.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that.
So I'll touch base, maybe next week's meeting, I'll bring it up to Suzanne.
To
Yeah.
Sue, yeah.
So let the Parks Department be the committee, is that?
I mean, it's,
They have the biggest stake
it
in
is their, it's,
Yeah.
that's kind of their wheelhouse.
Seems fair.
And I think taking it away, I don't know. Chris?
I wouldn't take it away.
No,
But I
but,
wouldn't make the
Well,
committee exclusive to the
exclusive,
park
no.
department.
No,
You know, you
Agreed,
you want
agreed.
more of a rounder approach to.
yeah, you do need to bring other views into
Sure.
it.
But like the main members. would
Yeah.
be Parks,
Yeah, and then maybe have a few people
yeah.
join them to get that other perspective. So yeah, maybe we kind of need to organize a new group
Okay.
Yeah.
for that
Who's the-
project.
Who's the common group?
A variety of, a few different people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Derek,
it's a,
Sue,
yeah, myself, Dave Shepherd,
okay,
trying to think, yeah, just, Sylvia Buck,
okay.
she's on it as
So a
well.
little different.
We have a
Similar.
more of a, kind of a historical, we wanted to represent, families of people that have been in town for a very long time, and some newer people to town, kind of different perspectives on it. So maybe in the same token for the Parks Department, having them kind of lead the group for Cutter Park, but we need to bring in some other people to get other perspectives.
Maybe
You know.
some, like, mothers or fathers.
Would it
of-
be,
That would be
would it be
awesome,
worth
yeah.
advertising out,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Something
yeah, I think it would be.
interesting?
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
make some kind of flyer up?
Yeah, I can draft something up.
um,
Yeah.
To try to get some interest of like mothers or people that use the park.
Sure.
yeah,
Because I
exactly.
know that's a heavily used park by a lot
Yes.
of younger families,
Exactly.
baseball teams and everything. So,
I know you folks might have saw, but John didn't do it, there was our meeting last time at the senior center got covered and people saw it, and consequently, people were commenting on Facebook. And I enjoyed one of them, like, you're not gonna touch that, what do they call it, the wheel, what do they call it, wheel around or whatever?
The guillotine.
The merry-go-round or whatever it is,
Something
thing that,
that-
oh yeah, yeah,
So,
Merry-go-round.
yeah.
oddly enough, that's gonna be of interest, I'm curious as to see how a land architect might approach those, let's call them vintage.
Vintage,
Vintage
yes,
play
there's
equipment,
definitely
you know.
some vintage play equipment there.
Because, I don't know if there are any legitimate rules or restrictions on
Right.
play equipment.
Right.
But a lot of people have a sentiment to those things.
Sure.
And I know even people from our own staff, when we were out there, they were playing all over them, they thought it was great,
And on to that token, I drove by, just last weekend, a park that when I grew up, I was 4 or 5 years old. And the swing sets that I swing are still there.
Yeah.
The only thing that got on the slides were taken down, the old big metal slides, so. I was like, I fell off of one of them, so I says, well, that's gone, but the swings are still there.
The other thing
So,
I think we
that's
could
40
say,
years ago.
Mr. Chairman, right here and now is I think it should be known that that parking area just to the west of the park is not a town-owned
No.
parcel of land, nor is the wooded area also to the west of Cutter Park. Cutter Park is essentially what you see, you know, with the ball field and the play equipment and stuff like that, and that's what, whoever you hire is going to be restricted actually to
Yeah.
looking at.
Did that get surveyed? Or is
It will.
it-
It
The
will
Cutter
be.
Park
Will.
will be,
Will.
yeah,
Will.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
And that parking lot's owned by that condominium association.
Yes,
Yeah.
that land, the
Yeah, no,
wooded
yeah.
land and
Yeah.
the parking area is owned by them. So, and they didn't, obviously, they still allow the townspeople who are using the park to use that space to park their vehicles, but we are not to touch it in any way. So that's under their control completely, and as long as they're allowing our residents to continue to park there, that's awesome, but again, that's up to them.
Okay. So I'll put together a flyer, I'll share it with you guys beforehand, and then we'll release it. The timing should be pretty well, because I mean, if we're looking at, you know, late March, early April, it'll give us enough time to get it out there to the proper channels and see if anyone takes. Okay, so moving on to FY '25, so this year's application.
I'm sorry, there was some business associated with the Walton Oak project, maybe that's new business.
Yeah, we'll do new business for that.
Sounds good. So the FY '25 application, so we looked at a couple different projects. I'll go through them now, but we did have a community development forum last week that was well attended. I think at least our CMRPC team got a lot of value out of it, and I hope the attendees did as well. So kind of moving forward from there, we will have a formal public hearing on March 20th during the Board of Selectmen meeting. That'll kind of be our final opportunity to receive any input or feedback from the general public about the proposed activities. But just to reiterate some of the activities that we've considered for this year's application, it is the Hillside Avenue Improvement Project. So that's looking at doing comprehensive improvements over on Hillside Ave. Jeremy and I have been in contact with the engineer that's working on that. He actually just put together the preliminary plans for that. So he's moving forward with that. Seems to be in good shape. We are hopefully going to be hosting a resident public meeting sometime in the middle of March. I think we haven't set a date for that yet, but we'll advertise that just to get residents' feedback on the particular proposed improvements for that street. Moving down to the Washington Street Neighborhood Infrastructure Planning Study, that's also advancing well. We've reached out actually to the same engineer who's doing the Hillside Ave to get us a cost estimate of what it's going to take to look at comprehensive improvements throughout the entire Washington Street neighborhood. I don't know, Chris, I know.
Well, we're modeling what was done in the School Street neighborhood, in that if the grant is funded, the town will hire a consulting engineering firm to evaluate that entire neighborhood, the drainage systems, the water systems, the sight lines, the curbing, the whole public works aspects of that entire neighborhood, and put together a comprehensive report that will show the findings, what some of the deficiencies are, and how we could go about addressing them, what source of funds are available to address them, and then also develop the, what we call it, like a sort of like a phasing strategy, you know,
Right.
which prioritizes which should occur first, and so on and so forth. So Jeremy and I walked it the other day fully, and that neighborhood needs some help.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to do that
Yeah.
Yeah.
with these folks.
John
Well-
will be able to help us.
I hope so.
Through that whole neighborhood.
Well, the good thing is the planning study, although funded through CDBG, we could use it for both the CDBG grant program, but also just general, you mean, with all the
One
information
stop
you can
and-
take from
yeah.
that, as a town will have that information available to them for any types of grant funding sources.
Well, exactly, similar to the School Street neighborhood, Community Development Block Grant will not be able to address all the issues in that neighborhood. So it's gonna be, maybe this is a good fit for one stop, maybe just chapter 90 on this street, or, who knows? But the idea is to parcel all the different sources of funds. And again, like School Street, probably, this is bigger,
Yeah.
So it'll be like a 10 to 15-year effort,
Yeah.
really, to address all the concerns in that area, bordered by Burbank Street, Southbridge Road, and
Washington.
Washington Street, in Parkview. So
Yeah.
Parkview, Burbank, Southbridge, and Washington,
Everything in the middle.
and everything in the middle.
Exactly.
It's a great project.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then lastly, the Summer Street Design Engineering Study. So we are rounding out the income survey. We have almost enough results to determine the street eligible. So if there's any Summer Street residents that are listening that still haven't handed in their income survey, please mail it back to us. It'd be very helpful. That's gonna be looking at, again, an engineer would be hired, do an assessment of the street. Based on that assessment, design improvements, then we could, in a subsequent year application, apply for the actual construction funds. So that's the plan of that. And then just a quick mention, this year, the town is joining with the town of Millbury on the application. It doesn't affect any of the projects or activities or budgets, fortunately, for the activities that we just went through, but they, just as I mentioned, they're gonna be looking at doing a design study for their parking lot of their senior center. Just to mention that. I was hoping to have had some cost estimates for tonight's meeting, but I don't. So the engineers are still working on putting those cost estimates together. I plan to send those to you via email, because I'd like for you guys to know before I have the public hearing, but we probably won't have another meeting before the 20th if we stay on our normal
Yeah.
advisory committee meeting schedule. So I can share that via email, but it's still a work in progress. I could ballpark, I don't know how useful that would be. Nonetheless, we'll be able to fit all the
Yeah.
activities and the budgets
Okay.
within the application.
That's all
So
that we're
that-
concerned
yeah,
about,
yeah.
so,
We
So-
can give them a number. I mean, it's gonna be about 500 for Hillside.
yeah.
Maybe about 140,000 for that comprehensive infrastructure plan. Maybe about 60,000 for design, 50 or 60 of design of Summer Street.
Yeah.
Plus some general admin and some delivery services. And then whatever Millbury has for their senior center design, maybe another 60. I don't know.
Right.
So it's
Wow,
gonna be
we could get a lot in that grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Four
Good.
projects, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah,
excellent.
it's a lot. So, it's spreading it out,
Well,
to-
Hillside isn't very big, so,
Yeah.
No.
there are other streets, as we look at Summer in the future, say Summer gets designed, as an example, we don't know, if it's gonna get funded, we hope it will. And then it's time to do construction, well, that's much longer.
Yeah.
That, under the structure of the current grant applications, will only fit in that,
Yeah.
if we get that.
If we can do that whole project in one application, because that might be a phased,
Could be.
if we can do this portion in one and then maybe a little something else and then the whole second phase to finish out the street, like we did with School Street. So,
right, yeah, exactly. So that rounds up the FY '25 CBG application.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions or comments? No?
No?
Okay,
If not,
great.
nice job, John.
Thank you. Thanks to
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you for your
All
efforts.
right. Okay, I know we're gonna move on to miscellaneous and new business. We do have some new business to discuss. Actually, Chris, if you'd wanna talk
Sure,
about it a bit.
there's
Actually,
no-
Chris, can you?
Oh,
go
yep,
up to the mic,
absolutely.
please?
Oh, sorry.
I should have said that back and forth.
Christopher Dunphy, Central Mass Regional Planning. So about 15 years ago, we did a construction project through the Community Development Block Grant in Warren Center, and that's the ramp and stair system. And we know it's not doing well. There have been people that have been tripping, pieces of the project are falling off, like they call them the toes. Those are the metal edging to the stairs. And we started talking with the highway department and other folks. And we've got this plan where we'd like to request the use of up to $5,000 to use sound business practices and hire a local construction contractor to do a sample portion of the stairs in a repair method using this new concrete technique. It's called Renew Concrete and maybe some epoxy. And, because there are a lot of different ways to approach this, we'll call it a repair, a rehabilitation, a complete new rebuild. And, I'm not an expert in that field. So we thought that we'd go ahead and try this, this sort of repair technique on just, if you're familiar with those, there's one area where the ramp ends, and then there's just 2 stairs, okay? So people can continue to access the shops and stuff by means of the ramp,
Yeah.
and that stairs can kind of be isolated. So this particular contractor can just work on those 2 steps and see what it looks like. Have the highway department go out there and see if that is a method that might work for the rest of it or not, or we move on towards potentially a possible 100% rebuild of the stairs.
Yeah.
We feel that the deck is salvageable
Mhm.
through some different
Yeah.
coatings and epoxies and fills and repairs and whatnot. But the stairs need some work. So we don't know to what level of repair. So we'd like to ask the committee if they'd, recommend to the Board of Selection the use of up to $5,000 of miscellaneous funds, and through sound practices, hire this contractor to go out there and conduct that repair just to those 2 steps. See what it looks like and see if we could use that method for the rest of it, or if we have to go on to a bigger
A complete rebuild. of the
rebuild
stairs.
of the stairs, yeah.
So where would the money come from?
The town has a fund through previous CDBG recaptures that we call miscellaneous funds,
Okay, miscellaneous.
and we'd like to use those.
Yeah.
Those funds.
So I was there and discussing this with potential options, and we don't feel like rehabbing these 2 stairs is going to be that expensive. I don't
Yeah.
see it costing $5,000, but we don't want to put it too low, because right now the issue is with any of the contractors we discussed this option with is nobody wants to guarantee any of this, because whether the proper care of the stairs is taken, whether people are using a bunch of salt on it, which destroyed it originally. I don't think it necessarily destroyed it, but it definitely pushed it along.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years since this project was done. Wear and tear, you could see the normal wear and tear on the deck where it wasn't exposed to excess salt or anything, but it was still exposed to the elements. And it's obviously the surface is worn, you could see where the aggregate's worn away and there's some rock exposed. That area could definitely be redone with the Renew, where they feel very confident it'll last a very long time. But the stairs themselves, they're nervous about it because, again, they don't know the time it could take, the actual labor hours, 2 guys, how many hours to clean them up, strip them down, take the edging off, get the surface as clean as possible, put the right layers of epoxy, put the Renew, finish it, and say, okay, well now, here's what it looks like, and it cost you, $1,500 to do these 2 steps. So maybe this whole project could be, $20,000 to do the Renew version, as opposed to where maybe a demo and rebuild of the stairs themselves could be more like $50,000. But do we want to spend $20,000 and maybe get 5 good years out of it? Or do we want to spend $50,000 and possibly get a good 20 years of good quality, stair repair versus, that patchwork? And it's up to us to determine that in this, by letting them do a sample.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like it's being the most responsible we can be as a community to not just throw our money away.
Let me ask you this, has there been some contractors that have been identified that specialize in this,
Mhm.
just can't be some, so is it?
Oh, no, they're concrete
Specialists,
this.
yeah,
They've
yeah.
worked for the town before.
Okay, good, no, that's great. Especially-
They've done large stair repairs.
Good.
And they've also done lots of new installation of
Perfect,
stairs.
that's right, yeah.
Very experienced. I
Good.
wouldn't have somebody come in that I don't know their
Good,
work.
okay, no, I'm just
But
asking.
let's be clear, after this little thing, this,
Yes.
you know, if whatever's gonna be done is gonna have to be formally bid out.
Correct.
Correct.
'Cause it's
For,
a-
for all the stairs.
Yeah,
Yep,
this,
I got
the
it.
sample is just to see if that's the route we wanna go. And if that is the route we wanna go, then we'll put together, a
Yep, I get it.
formal package to put it out there to all the qualified contractors to bid on it and go from there. Or if that's when we decide, no, we wanna go the route, let's demo these staircases right out and do all new concrete steps, the railings on the stairs probably need to be modified. But the rest of the railings on the platform are all perfect, great condition still, 15 years later. We don't need to touch them,
Nope.
they're really nice.
Okay.
And
So-
I have one more thing to add before you ask a question.
No, I just wanted to state one thing on this project. Just remember to the board that this contractor, whoever is selected, would have to pay prevailing wage and would have to meet all of the
Yeah.
insurance qualifications.
Yeah.
I just spoke to the individual today, and he's aware of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay, and who did the pad back here? Remember that concrete work? It was.
Yeah, that was,
They didn't honor.
yeah.
Well, that's the issue. I'm having a hard time finding, real experts in the field of concrete installation, so, short of me being able to find someone that does that sort of work, that's why we want to do the sample. And furthermore,
I do have a concrete person that I used at the wastewater treatment plant, that did the steps, that are also, were very good.
We just had a bad
Sorry, I was unaware of
experience
that.
with somebody around the time Jim started with some
Okay.
work on the Shepherd building that
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to.
So in terms of funding, the other reason why I want to do this thing is it's going to help me get real numbers, one way or the other,
Yes.
which is needed for John and I have been working with John, because he was able to bring in the FY 22-23 CDBG project under budget. And so there's a chance that if we could demonstrate our case to the state that this is a worthy project to use those funds, they might let us do that, But I think we have to do some more research, do some more information, get some real numbers, and be able to describe what is our method of rehabilitation. So that's the whole gist of it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on it? I mean,
No, it's gotta be
you
done.
guys, like I said, this is the route that we've been discussing this for a while. It's been a difficult thing to kind of, all right, where are we gonna get the funding? Now we have a possible funding source, but now we need to identify this project very clearly so that funding source might accept it as a project for our reallocated funds through CDBG. So, that's how we.
There are other companies out there that will do concrete repairs and or complete tear outs and
Yeah,
reinstalls.
that's the thing is, this is
And-
just the sample.
seal it
Mhm.
and guarantee it.
We discussed all those factors
Good
with,
points.
one of the contractors we discussed this with. And they know that this deal would only be for a sample. They
Mm-hmm.
know that this project in large is not their project, it would be,
Out to bid.
something we would go out to bid.
Yeah, there's a company I deal with all the time. They'll come in and they'll do new concrete for you or repair work for
Yeah.
you. They'll put a special seal coat on it, their product, and they will guarantee that for 20 years.
Okay, so I would ask if anyone knows of these qualified company
Yeah.
contractors, to pass them along to Mr. Ferrera, and he has one himself, so we'll at least have a pool
Yeah.
of people,
Be
when the
nice.
bid is ready to go out, if we get to that point. So,
Absolutely.
thank
So
you.
do we need a motion to, well, I'll make a motion to recommend spending $5,000 up to $5,000 out of miscellaneous funds to go toward this sample repair project.
You may not want to make a motion because it wasn't on the agenda, so you should just bring it up.
Oh, yeah, it's under new business.
It's under new business.
Oh, boy, never mind.
You may want to just bring it up at the selectmen's meeting, the
Okay.
next one.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll get it on an agenda.
All right.
so, but the.
Board
this-
supports
This
it.
board supports it.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. 100%, okay. All right, well, that's excellent. Get that out of the way. All right, any other new business? Anything else, anyone? Nope. Okay, let's, the fun part, let's do our next meeting. If we stay with the 4th week, it brings us to the 26th, but you will have to do the meeting without me. So, I think,
Where are you
Steve,
gonna
you can
be?
run it, right?
Okay.
He'll take care of it.
Unless you wanna do it the week before.
On the 26th,
What is it?
I will be leaving Orlando, flying to Key West.
Yeah, I knew it.
What about the week before? You wanna do the week before?
The 19th, there's a lot going on that week.
What about the week after?
Well, it's a March meeting we're gonna have in April now.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm trying to be
Yeah,
creative.
well, but you guys can't handle this without me?
No, I
I'm
couldn't,
not,
but
I'm not that important. Rich ran this committee without me for years. Yes, he did. He did an excellent, when I came on board, he was my leader. He showed me the path.
Yeah, boy.
All you did was pick up the
You
breadcrumbs.
learned well, my son.
Thank you.
All right, so.
All right,
we
so
don't
you guys
adjourn
can do it the 26th.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
don't
we
need
can do
me.
it.
We'll,
All right,
we'll be okay.
We'll come
be
to
okay.
Steve for
Okay.
it.
Right.
Yeah, Steve, you're gonna lead the meeting.
Well, cemetery, I do that all the time.
Why not? You,
Okay.
so you can
I'm
lead
not,
a
I'm not afraid,
cemetery.
I'm not shy, you know that.
Right, okay, so the 26th
I
at
move
4
fast.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anybody with the final words here?
Motion,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, did you come?
Yep.
Oh, okay, sorry. I must have missed that. Must have stepped out to the car.
motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Rich Hacker, aye.
Steve Crystal, aye.
Joe McKeon, aye.
Dan DeBru, aye.
Jeremy Olson, aye. The meeting is adjourned.